So it's my pleasure to welcome Adama Sanneh. I know for a few years now. I collaborated very little bit to the activities of the Lettera Foundation, and which is a very interesting foundation that does a lot in terms of knowledge propagation and sharing in many different and touchy contexts. So today is going to talk about a device for social mediation.
Yeah. Thank you, Roberto. Thanks a lot for inviting us. And so today now we're not going to present you a study. So we're not going to present you facts and analysis, but we're going to present you an experience, something that we have created, conceptualized, and implemented. And it's an educational format, and actually really what it would be fantastic to see, A, if it's anything that you see that is interests you, B, anything that you think it would be interesting to delve into more and potentially having some study about what we do. But let me start by introducing ourselves. We work for the Lettera Foundation, this Italian-based foundation created in 2006. And the mission literally is about support the right to literacy, education, and access to knowledge and information. And we have a specific focus on the African continent and its diaspora. Another way to explain or to try to describe what we do, it's really we try to well, of course, facilitate the integration of minds from underprivileged areas into the interconnected pool of ideas. And we do that through providing and developing tools that can be useful for the creation and the development of critical thinking, a creative mindset, or the idea of creative doing, and potentially lifelong learning. So we try to focus on these three specificities of education. We work in three main areas of intervention. The first is art and culture for social transformation. So again, it's not art for the art's sake, but we try to use art as a tool to stimulate social transformation and social innovation. We work in innovative education. We have a lot of discussion with Roberto about the word innovative. In fact, we don't know if you're going to resist longer more in our presentation, but so far we haven't had anything better. But the idea is that we're really trying to work in models and formats that can be somehow useful beyond the institutional education. And then we have a third area of work, the sustainable culture. As many of you already know, foundation and cultural institution always struggle with funds, community building, and more like entrepreneurial activity and entrepreneurial attitude. And in this case, so we try to focus even there a little bit to figure out a way to do our work in a more effective and efficient way every time. So we work in the models, and that's important. So just a quick glance so far. We are working in 16 countries. We have developed 9 internal initiatives. We work with 23 organizations, culture organizations, both in the African continent but also outside. And we invested around 2.5 million euros so far into in the cultural field. But today we really want to talk about one of the intervention or the initiative that we created, and our key educational format is called At Work. And in order to present it to you, we're going to show you a video. So the top left, I'm going to show you the video. Now we have the part of technical aspect. Let's see if it goes.
Yes, and
Right? Yeah. Five view, full screen. Artists, intellectuals, educators, and students were answering the same question. How can we create a tool in support of institutional education that too often lack focus on such fundamental skills as critical thinking? We want to create an intense, transformative experience for young creative talents and students, a moment where they can question themselves, the norms, the schemes, get out of the comfort zone, and eventually be willing to transform the society around them. This is an experience that was born in Africa, and Africa is a perfect metaphor for the world. It is the youngest continent in the world, and it represents a space in which to think about the future and set new standards.
The annual format has three key moments: a workshop, an exhibition, and a community. The workshop brings top artists and intellectuals to lead a discussion with the creative talent on a specific topic. As a result of collective discussion and self-reflection, each participant personalizes a notebook, which solidifies the process in an art piece. The exhibition is an opportunity for them to showcase their works and to extend a dialogue to a larger audience. The Artwork Online community is the space where the sharing take the conversation to a global level and go beyond the workshop experience. The notebooks then become part of Lettera's art collection that we promote in various international venues, as well as in a permanent online show. The variety of pieces is really impressive, and they treat such topics as identity, diversity, memory, freedom, and many others.
At the beginning, it was intimidating. It required a lot of thinking of how do I get out of what I have learned, how do I unlearn what I have learned already. Everything was gone, like everything I knew before had to go away, and I had to do something new this time around.
We grew up in an education system where we weren't allowed to think for ourselves, we weren't allowed to question, we weren't allowed to have an opinion. The only place where criticality is occurring is in our world, and that's so important.
With EHESS, we want to create an interconnected Pan-African network of cultural influencers and youth. This unique community of creative thinkers can have an impact that goes way beyond a single workshop. So first of all, we have to say that we haven't used a stop motion technique to do it. There's actually like but hopefully it was clear enough to at least get the main point. So Artwork is, as explained, is an educational format, is an itinerant educational format. Let me try to get back to this. That we created with Simon Jamy. Who is Simon Jamy? And is this monsieur over here? And Simon is a curator, is a writer, is a philosopher, and he's been one of the fathers of what's so-called the contemporary African art movement. So is one of the now main contemporary intellectuals in the continent. And he done some of the most important exhibition that really put contemporary African art in the map, and has been also a strong activist. But among all that is somehow the labels and the activities that make him survive well and make an influence. He's an educator. He really is passionate about education, and so together with Simone, we have created this format. So far we've been to few places, and we aim to go in other places more and more. The idea is that we have this 3 to 5 days intense experience. We always go in areas, and we always partner with a local institution. So everywhere you see here, this means that there is a partner, local partner, with whom we work to create the experience. So we create the format, and then the format is somehow used and implemented by the local partner with, of course, our help and contribution. Few numbers: we've done 12 at-work workshops. We reach around 240 students, and then we have created an online community of these students. So the idea is that these students will not only be connected when there is a workshop, but also online. So there is almost now 600 people online that keep the interaction going, and all these people come from more than 30 countries. So, but let's try to delve into a little bit the methodology and our background and so on and so forth. And the idea is really what kind of education we try to work with, we try to implement. And we had this quote of Gilles Deleuze, who really believe in it, because he talks about a theory is exactly like a box of tools. And this idea of tools that we use in the first slide, and then it will come back over and over again in this presentation, is extremely important. The idea is that as approach, we don't have any real content to teach to anybody. The idea is to really just give tools, or create a context in which every student, every youth can build an experience and build their own tools, and then they're going to use in the way they were preferred. So it's more about creating spaces, experiences, and interaction where people can develop these tools. And for doing and for implementing at-work, there are 3 major tools that instruments that we have used. And the one is Africa, the second one is notebook, the third one is community. So in which way, we decided to, first of all, make Africa a tool? Well, first of all, the idea is that we don't necessarily know what Africa is if we have to think about the real meaning of Africa. Okay, it's a continent. There are a lot of connotation that always surround this word. So in this case, we say, okay, no. The idea of Africa, we take it as a metaphor. In the video, we say, no, Africa is a perfect metaphor for the world. And everything that is happening in the African continent is happening everywhere else. There are some conditions, though, in which, because it's the youngest continent in the world, because there are certain constructions that are happening with a sort of heterocracy compared to other places in the world, there is this idea that we decided to use Africa as a tool because Africa, we conceptualize it as a theory in the making. And because it's a theory in the making, is a great space where we can not only reflect about the past, but to think about a new possible future where different type of relation can occur. So take it metaphorically, that's the point. The idea of, I will go to the notebook later, but then the idea of community also is extremely important. We created a community online, and the idea is really to try to think community in, not necessarily different, because it different depends from what, but often community is being used to separate us instead of thinking about a concept of togetherness. And so again, this is another concept that we use and we try to develop in order to experience a different type of concept. Yesterday we were talking about with Roberto about the importance of a new negotiation and somehow of concepts, not necessarily of words or terms. So in this case, community is one of those. Then the last one is notebook. That of course is very relevant to this workshop. And for this I wanted to read a short passage because I think in this case it was Simon who wrote it and he used, I think, beautiful words. So notebook. So we lost our ability to transform things with our hands. In those contemporary times we are living in, we are slowly becoming mutants who will soon forget how to write. This craftsmanship that allows one to reflect on oneself and the world, and to record feelings, reflection, images, and moments is a unique tool that permits the survival of a vernacular memory. Notebooks refer to writing and writing to time. The confrontational time spent to try to feel with one's own hand the blank pages. It's a journey that opens doors where we thought shut forever by revealing the fragility and the ephemeral that can only survive within ourselves. So the central piece of the use of a notebook and handwriting and drawing is extremely important in our workshop, in our format. We're going to go super quickly through the methodology of the workshop. Of the format, sorry. So the first moment of this educational format is a workshop. Is a workshop led by a workshop leader that normally is an artist, a curator, or an intellectual. This person lead the workshop on a specific theme or topic. Few examples. In Addis Abeba, we just did it, the last one that we did, the theme was, what is home? In Kampala, should I take off my shoes? In Cairo, something else. So they are very short and open theme, polysemic themes. Then the students has to start to interpret. So the first things that we ask the students to do is to interpret the theme. So we don't ask them for a letter of motivation or anything like that. But when we ask them what is home, the student have to produce a short paragraph or even a drawing or whatever they want to say what is home. And then this is the first moment of discussion. So we take the answers and we start talking about this. In this, so it's a very, let's say, meiotic type of Aristotelic type of workshop. So there is a lot. It's a lot about discussing and everything. But something is extremely important is that this discussion doesn't remain there. It doesn't remain as a sort of. We don't try to take a bunch of 18-year-old kids and try to make them reflect about the world and and that's it. The idea is that whatever reflection they made and whatever discussion and analysis they did about themselves and about the world has to be put back on a notebook. And the notebook becomes the device that captured this process. And so in the end, for us, this is extremely important because they have to reconcile their ideas. They have to be able to summarize it and reconcile the ideas on a notebook. And this can take different shapes. We will see them later. But so this is important because that becomes a device and a tool that then it is used also not only to reflect with yourself and to negotiate with yourself, but to reflect and negotiate with the group that you're with. Then there is a second moment because these notebooks then is exposed in an exhibition. So the workshop leader with the students co-curate an exhibition, an art exhibition, where those notebooks are exhibited.
Do they know that from the beginning?
Yes. So the idea is that, this forum or this group of discussion become bigger. So the negotiation is not only, and reconciliation is not only with yourself, but is your internal group, and then with a larger audience. So again, this is something very important for us to make this experience that is very short, 5 days, very strong. Then the last part, of course, again, is the one of the community. All the notebooks are digitalized, and we put it in a online exhibition. We're going to have a look later. But this is, again, very important because then there is a device of a thought process that remains and can continue to pollinate discussion. A simple example, we had once, we posted in an online community this notebook of this student from Kampala, and she made a very personal notebook about her condition as a woman in Uganda, and as a young woman in Uganda, and we posted online, and the young ladies from Cairo responded to this through the notebook. So by exchanging this idea of the notebook, this idea in the discussion could continue and could create new discussion. So, well, just something that is important and we can't overlook is this idea of the leaders. The leaders is a very important element of the workshop. It's a very authorial type of workshop. Every workshop leader conducts the workshop in a different way. Everybody has to follow the same methodology, of course, but of course the style of the leader is extremely important. In this case, we see in the middle is Mira Nair. Mira Nair is a Hollywood director from India, based in Kampala, and she was one of the guest speaker during our workshop in Uganda. We had, well, of course, Simon Jambi conducted some. Other artists like James Kokobi conducted, or Billy Bichoka, that are contemporary artists. And this is another element that is important for us because it's also a way to have these students to have access to those minds in a different way, because normally somebody that, a 20 years old kid from the African continent, but not only, from wherever, the only way that you have to access certain mind is either through a formal lecture or through a book or through a video. In this case, it's like 5 days of real interaction, human interaction. So this is another element that is important in our educational tool. Something very important that we also have to say is the collection. So we have created a collection of artist notebooks that is composed in different ways. So the first way is through artwork, is through the workshop itself. So in the end of the workshop, and at the end of the exhibition, every student can decide to donate the notebook to Lettera 27, to the Lettera 27 collection. And we catalog it, we keep it, and we digitalize it, and then we showcase it, we exhibit it all over the world. We've been to Art Paris this year and the Grand Palais. We've been to Art Basel many times. We try to create moments where those art objects can be showcased and again generate other type of discussion. But this collection is not only formed by student notebooks, it's also formed by artists, established creatives, and authors. The best way to call it is authors, because we actually have a very big variety of notebooks done by, again, visual artists, musicians, philosophers, designers, architects, and so on and so forth. And so we have basically this now big collection that really kind of reflects the variety of the contemporary gesture in this way. These are some of the few examples. This is the one in the middle is Pascal Martin Taillou, who's now a very prominent artist from Cameroon, or Wangi Hatter, who's a duo from Germany and Kenya. And something is important to say because maybe I didn't say it and it's not obvious, all this that you say are notebooks. They start from the same object. The burning one to the city over there, everything starts from the same device. And this is another very important element for us, because we realize the importance of the tool itself as a notebook, because art can be, used in different ways, but not everybody can necessarily relate to a 5x5 white canvas with a red dot in the middle. But most of the people relate to a notebook because it's an object that is, first of all, it's an intimate object, and second of all, it is something that more or less everybody dealt with at some point of his life. So a few numbers. At the moment, we have around more than 1,000 notebooks. Almost 300 are from established authors, artists, and so on and so forth. And then we have around 200 artists, 200 notebooks that come from the workshops. And then we have another bunch of notebooks come from another project that we will not talk about it, but we have people who use a notebook to make them an art piece and decided to donate it to us. And so again, we showcase this kind of movement, that we create through this device. These are some of the participant quotes. For us, this was very interesting. It was very important because really most of the students not everybody of course, but most of the students really felt that the workshop was a kind of transformative experience. And we think that some of the reason why this workshop is very so far efficient is because it is a tool that builds on something that's already existing. It's a tool that comes in again, with institutional education. We work with universities, with cultural institutions, with students that are already enrolled in an academic path, and we try to take them out, shake them a little bit, use tools that are not always used to use, and then they come back with a different perspective. It's kind of like change of posture a little bit. That's what we're trying to do. And that's pretty much it. The idea, and really kind of the question that we still have open, is really to try to, because we know that we have so far we use a very empirical approach. We have few ideas, we have few examples, we have few starting points, but then it was about, let's try it. And every workshop, every artwork, we learn more. And we modify a little bit what we do. But for us now is a great occasion for us to really also put the ball, in your court, if you want to play with us, in the sense that there are so many questions that we have open regarding monitoring and evaluation, regarding understanding how we can improve the graphical aspect and the cognitive components of the workshop. How can we explain some of the experience that we had, but we don't necessarily have the scientific methodology to really be able to disseminate it, in the most effective way as possible. So again, any ideas, questions, suggestions, advice that comes to your mind, we're more than happy to receive it from you. That's pretty much it.